And I love the
Dwarves.
I love the
Dwarves. Elves. Race.
Hello and welcome. Elves. Elves are taking over my life. We've had so many great anime elves this year so far that I'm finding it difficult to even pick a few to highlight, and not because I meant to make this video a few months ago or anything. But no, there's never a time where it's too late to talk about our favorite fantasy race, cat girls. Okay, I hear you people, but whenever we get more than one anime a season with cat girls, I'll come back to this. Petition your anime studios today. So instead, who can go wrong with elves? After all, elves are as essential to fantasy as the bureaucratic wastelands known as adventurers' guilds. And the king marrying a woman half his age, which is why you should join me as I continue my journey to discover the perfect anime. Starting off with Yandere Dark Elf, she chased me all the way from another world. Now, for some of you out there, this anime might actually seem a little bit familiar. Why, if your favorite sequence of 6 numbers happen to be 347363 376 398 397 150 481186 or 567860, then you might be a fan already. If you're wondering what those numbers mean, well, I have no idea, Mr. YouTube. Why would you look at such a peculiar icon? My, I enjoy having this next to my videos, and I assure you, I love to comply with your wishes. Yeah, this is a series that was based off of a much spicier manga, but now it's been serialized as a full-on story, and now it's got its own anime. However, I wouldn't call this safe for work or anything, since it only turns down the lewdness from a 10 to about an 8. It mainly reminds me of the first anime I covered in my last elf video too, Plus Size Elf, which was in a similar situation, and it makes sense to bring that one up because this is also done in 12-minute long episodes and also by the same studio. I bring this up because I am all in favor of really good spicy manga getting their own more family-friendly spin-offs. Imaizumin brings all the Gyaru to his house is the gold standard for this. I genuinely believe it's one of the best slice-of-life series I've ever gotten into, and I would love to give its praise right now, however, it doesn't have any elves. So, this story begins with Hinata, the legendary isekai hero himself, defeating the Demon Lord and saving the magical kingdom of, I don't know, Arkansas or something. And then heading back to the real world, and then the anime ends. Okay, not really, because a month later, Maribel, his Dark Elf party member, shows up in his apartment and wants to get all lovey-dovey with him because he's just so cool, you know? Now, despite making the comparison to Plus Size Elf, I have to admit I like the series way more than that one. It doesn't try introducing a new character every single episode so it can further develop the main Dark Elf that we do get, Belle. Even though she might not need much more development. Yeah, this is one of those anime that I can't show much on YouTube if I haven't made that clear enough. But I'll go over what makes her stand out, since I can talk about the word in the title I'm sure you've already forgotten about. Yandere, a character archetype characterized by crazed obsession with another person. And Belle is no different. However, if I'm gonna be completely honest, normally this is meant to be as creepy as it is flattering, since Yandere should show some sort of sign that she can actually bring the fear. And if you manage to befriend her like Hinata's childhood friend Sakura does, she's actually pretty chill. In fact, I think the world might be a bit too chill around Belle here. Believe it or not, she's not the only elf named Maribel from this year, as that was the elf's name in Welcome to Japan Miss Elf from last season. However, the two are very different. Maribel in that show tried to hide her elven identity while in Japan, and overall that series was just pure diabetes. Here though, I find it hilarious that Belle attends Hinata's school and nobody seems to really care other than Sakura. She just shows up one day and says, "I'm a dark elf from Narnia. I have pointy elf ears. I've eaten dragon. And I've lived over 300 years with no social security number. The last school I attended, we learned how to turn oranges into orangutans and other useful spells. Nice to meet you! Seen it! Maybe this is the same school that Nico Wakatsuki attends, and this is her 5th fantastical classmate of the week. I'd also like to mention that I take my research on anime elves seriously, so I decided to consult the sacred text itself to see what else I can learn, since each episode is so short and Belle is really cute. And as it turns out, in the first chapter of the manga, there's an amazing reference to the Terminator of all things, which implies that while she was on her way to seduce her boy toy, she ran into Skynet. That's amazing. If you know exactly what you're getting into, like how Belle wants Hinata to get into her, then this is a fine, fun anime. I've enjoyed it, and I give Belle from Yandere Dark Elf an elf rating of 12-minute-long episodes. But she's not the only elf from this season, as we have the brilliant healers and New Life in the Shadows, which gives us this saucy specimen of elven kind, Zofia.
リザードマンを率いる貧民街の顔役の一人。
Wait, really? How? I've seen lizardmen in this show. Maybe that's them in their winter coats. Well, no fears, we've got Lo.
多くの本気に勝てると思っているのか?
Seriously? If you're an orc, then what does that make me? A dork? I liked it. Okay, come on. I can't drop the ball like Aaron Judge in Game 5 here. I don't want to strike out 3 times. There's Linga, and yeah, she's not an elf.
貧民街のワールフをまとめているリンガだ。
I was promised elves for my own ultimate guide video from 2 months ago. What the hell, past action first? Well, there is Lily, and I could cover her like most of my elves in these videos. However, I don't want to get on a list. Plus, the clear best girl in the series is the ghost girl. Huh. Looking at this season, I didn't expect us to be so elf-deprived. Maybe I really should have made this video a few months ago, but we do have. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my levels. Season 2. Yeah, you remember this one. I could have covered it back in 2021 when Season 1 came out, but I wasn't making YouTube videos, so here we go, Season 2. This is an anime where an office lady gets isekai'd because she died of overwork. Japan. No. Seriously. You want to talk about it? I'm here for you, buddy. Anyways, the goddess of the world gives her everything she needs to live the slow life for as long as she wants, and in only a short 300 years of killing slimes on occasion, she's accidentally become the most powerful being in all of creation. Now, despite what you might think, this isn't an isekai harem. You see, Azusa manages to fill her home with her slime daughters, her dragon, her other dragon, her ghost girl, the occasional demon lord and demon king, but not a harem, you know, wholesome time only. And of course, this means she has an elf joiner. Meet Halkura, and I'm just going to spoil the Venn diagram at the end of this video for her. She is a massive girl failure. She's really into making potions, many of which are too strong for you, traveler. However, Azusa's taken enough Flintstone vitamin gummies to withstand nuclear winter, so she can handle them just fine. Sometimes. Really, it's hard not to get along with Halkura. Sure, she's a klutz, but she's bringing in money. She found the one thing that she moderately excels at, can market and profit off of, and is dangerously thick too, making her product sell even better. Now, she's not the main focus of the story. The cast of this anime is so big that we take any and all moments we can have with Halkura, which often means she's the catalyst to get the plot of an episode started, usually from her own incompetence. In reality, with her main hobby being picking plants and mushrooms, the only kind of person who wouldn't like her would have to be someone made out of plants. There's someone made out of plants. She doesn't like Halkura. I can easily recommend this anime based on the following qualifications. If you are not a Mandragora, then you're probably going to like Slime 300 and therefore Halkura too. So she easily earns an elf rating of hoarding all of the potions you've accrued over the course of the game that you're never going to end up using. Now, gonna do something a bit different here. Instead of covering a retro elf anime, because there aren't actually as many as you'd think, so I'll save them for later. I'll instead cover any anime elves from the winter and spring season in rapid fire style. So, Memolin. I actually would have covered her since I really liked Zenshu. However, I did focus a good amount on this anime in my last isekai video, so I'm gonna give her a pass here. Highly recommend Zenshu though, and Memolin is a great character in it. Headhunted to Another World and the Red Ranger Isekai also had elves, but I covered them in that video too. Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf. I brought this one up earlier, and yeah, it does feel like a much more wholesome version of Yandere Dark Elf, but this was still pretty sweet. Maribel is a real cutie pie. Ubel Blatt. Now, originally I was planning on covering this one since the main character is a male elf, and how many male elves do you know? Let's see, there's a Legolas, Illidan, half of Elrond. Yeah, that's about it. However, this little bit of novelty is all the anime has going for it. This show was so boring, I can't even bring myself to talk about it anymore. Beihei Neko was another ecchi elf anime, but I lost interest in this one real quick, and demoted it to a second monitor anime early on. The Beginning After the End also has an elf, but I ain't watching this. I left my A-rank party to help my former students reach the dungeon depths. I'm a noble on the brink of ruin, so I might as well try mastering magic, and possibly the greatest alchemist of all time, all at Elves too, but I didn't watch any of these. Even given the worthless Appraiser class I'm actually the strongest does have an elf. A lot of them. A lot of them. You know what? I'll talk about this one. Alright, hear me out on this. I know this anime begins right off the bat with three of the biggest isekai subgenres immediately. The appraisal skill, being kicked out of the hero's party, well, they may not have been heroes, but who cares, and having a worthless skill that's actually really powerful. However, this anime isn't actually an isekai. Ein is our main goofus who's schlepped along as the errand boy for these two soon-to-be ex-party members because they ran away like the cowards they are, leaving him to either die or die. So he chooses to jump into the great beyond, ending this series. Until he wakes up to Yuri, the elf. Tree spirit. Yeah, she's not an elf. Sorry guys, but hold on, that's an elf right there. Same logic as when I chose Nova for my last video. Pointy knife ears, she's living next to a tree, she's really hot, that's an elf. And she's with her mother, Ursula, who just starts experimenting on our boy Ein just for the fun of it, you know? As it turns out, it ends up working in his favor as he can use his appraisal skill to learn skills from the enemies he fights, and after episode 3 you can completely forget he has the appraisal skill at all. It's pretty much written out of the story. He's just an OP fantasy pro tag afterwards. Because, you know, he's actually the strongest. But of course, this was all part of Ursula and Yuri's plan as they want to go and find Yuri's sisters, the other elves. I mean, great tree spirits, resulting in Ein's harem growing ever larger. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but we might actually have too many elves here. Every time he finds a new tree spirit, she goes inside of him, but not the fun way. Instead, they hide in his eye, which he can use to summon them, giving him his own waifu on demand service. I take it back actually, perhaps if he's collecting them like Pokemon, then maybe you can never have too many elves. Branch out into various elvish types, you know? After all, that just fits your average fantasy world building mold. Your fantasy world isn't complete without your wood elves, dark elves, half elves, ice elves, fire elves, high elves, higher elves, hired elves, tired elves, stumpy elves, demon elves, dragon elves, Elvis, Keebler elves, secret unlockable elves, Samuel Elf Jackson, Margaret Thatched Ear, the 1985 Super Bowl champions Chicago Bear Elves, Dwight D. Eisen Elves, Cereal Elves, Snow Elves, Water Elves, Multiple Elves, Druid Elves, and Frog People. Exactly what I'd expect from the same author who created the beloved literary classic. The incompetent prince who has been banished wants to hide his abilities. The strongest sage who reincarnated twice. He wanted to enjoy this life, so took it easy and was banished from the royal family. It's too late to be told, come back now, because the people of the territory have noticed his abilities and won't let him return to his family home. Oh yeah, everybody at the nursing home just loves that one. But hold on, we need to focus on Yuri. Not that kind. Which I love to do, except anytime there's some romantic progression dangerously close to happening between Ayan and Yuri, her mother crashes a party, bringing out her virginity alarm like Dot Matrix from Spaceballs. However, I thoroughly enjoyed this anime, but I've enjoyed it on the same wavelength as shows like The Iceblade Sorcerer Shall Rule the World, where yeah, we know it's stupid, the show itself knows it's stupid, it doesn't take itself seriously. This is a turn your brain off, go into elf appreciation mode anime, and if you do so, you're going to have fun with the series, and Yuri too, as she gets an elf rating of competing with all of her sisters, mother, and mother-in-laws over the same guy. But we've had our fun and games, we've seen some elves of high quality, but I think it's time for me to reveal the elf with the highest quality. In other words, my favorite anime elf ever. None other than... Emilia is the best elf in all of anime. Yeah. I'm saying it. And with ReZero Season 3 wrapping up recently, it's about time for me to give Emilia the credit and praise that she deserves, as she's easily my favorite character in the entire series, who's not named Natsuki Subaru. And even now, after 3 seasons of ReZero and character development for Emilia, I still think she's a bit underrated. Mainly because Rem is still the most popular character of the show and she hasn't done anything for over 40 episodes, which is not a criticism, I love Rem too, but I love Emilia. Subaru's of course had the most character development of anyone in this series, but Emilia is a close second. Look how she was from the beginning as we were first introduced to her, and many of those characteristics of her are still present. She cares for others, believes in equality, and wants to become the next ruler of Lagunica. However, back in Season 2, she was borderline useless and a major pain in the ass, which isn't me saying that, that's from Subaru himself. Nobody has come as close to giving up as much as she has, except Subaru. But come the end of Season 3, we get to see the real Emilia, what she's capable of. She's the same character who broke down crying unable to carry through the trials again and again, especially without Puck. And now she's helped lead a successful counterattack against some of the greatest foes we've seen yet, with her fighting on the front lines. One of my favorite parts to her character is that whenever a threat is clear and present, she just throws hands. She clearly took inspiration from Tuco.
When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
One of the first episodes of Season 3, she makes it clear that she wants Subaru to rely on her. After all, he's her knight. In Season 2, Subaru learns that he can't do everything on his own. But Emilia learns how much more capable she is than what she previously thought. Early on in Season 3, Emilia loses and is kidnapped by Regulus in order to become his next wife. However, she isn't just a damsel in a tower. She instills a feeling of retribution and rebellion to all of his remaining living wives in order to fight back against him. She gets to know them all in such a short amount of time to where when she needed to freeze all of them to defeat Regulus, they accepted. Even if Emilia couldn't save them, they all trusted her more than they feared Regulus. Emilia and Subaru make the perfect tag team, and they both rely on and support one another. I love everything about Emilia, especially the way she punches the shit out of Regulus. I could watch this all day. I'm really looking forward to ranking every Season 3 episode later this year, but I think Emilia deserved her own section here since I can't get over how proud I am of her, of Subaru, and the rest of the cast of Season 3 as they bring us one step closer to finding the perfect anime. Hey, thanks for watching. Here's the updated Venn diagram for all the elves I've covered in this series. At some point in the future, when I inevitably do a few more of these, I think it might be fun to do some sort of bracket tournament, like a popularity contest to determine who's the best elf. I don't know how best I'd do it. This is just an idea I'd have for the far future. There are plenty more elves we'll see and more anime to come. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to sub 300 Years of Killing Slimes for more adopting other immortal fantasy daughters. New manga review coming out soon, so thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.